Hi everyone, Dayna here with Stella House Films. I create beautiful wedding films and creative commercials. Today I'm going over the top 5 wedding disaster mistakes that you can avoid just by following these simple experiences that I'm about to share with you. So number 1, hire a professional. How many times have you heard a bride, well, you probably haven't, I hear it a lot, a bride say like, oh, my friend does that, I'm just gonna have him do that. Or, yeah, my girlfriend's a makeup artist, so I'm just gonna have her do my hair. Or, my uncle has a film camera, so I'm just gonna have him shoot the video for my wedding. Hiring a professional. You don't know how many times I've heard photographers and videographers alike saying that they wish that they knew then what they know now, because there's a huge difference between someone that does something as a hobby and someone that does it as their profession, someone that makes a living off of it. I had a client last year say, you know, she's a wedding photographer and she's been doing it for a while, and she said, I did not have a professional photograph my wedding. I didn't know how important it was. Now I know how important it is. Now I know how much skill it takes and how much time and practice and editing skills and being able to anticipate what is going to happen on a wedding day. There are so many things that factor in with a professional knowing what to anticipate on a wedding day, especially a photographer and a videographer. A videographer that shoots, you know, sports segments for, you know, your local television station, or, you know, shoots plays or sporting, you know, a videographer who does not specialize in weddings is not going to know what to expect at a wedding, and is not going to know the angles or the placement or the settings or what's going to happen next. It's taken a long time for me to figure out exactly where to be, exactly where I'm supposed to be, exactly where my second shooter is supposed to be, exactly what kind of lighting situations call for what kind of lenses and what kind of camera settings. It's just, it's much different than any other kind of like the transition from being able to shoot one thing and shooting weddings is huge, because weddings require complete attention at all times. Requires you to be on all the time. That's why a wedding vendor will be absolutely exhausted the next day and be spent, because they've put so much into that wedding day. It requires constant thinking, constant movement, constant creative skill. So please hire a professional. Because if your friend kind of bails on you or doesn't do something right, well, there goes that friendship, right? Wouldn't you rather just save that friendship and hire a professional? Friendship, long-lasting friendship, is worth more than the cost of whatever service that is that you want to replace with a friend doing that. Number 2, do things the way that you want to do them, not the way anyone else wants to do them. Don't do things that you don't want to do on your wedding day or leading up to your wedding day, because it's only going to cause resentment and anger on the actual day. For instance, I had a person integral to my wedding invite some people to my wedding that I did not know and that I didn't really want there, because everyone at my wedding was very selectively chosen. There are a lot of people I couldn't invite because we were keeping it to a certain number, and then all of a sudden some other people show up at my wedding because they were invited by a family member. If I knew now what I knew then, I would have told that person, like, no one should be showing up at this wedding except for the people on that list. And you know what would have saved me from all of that is a wedding planner. which I did not hire. I did not hire a wedding planner. I would have hired a wedding planner and a day of coordinator if I knew then what I know now, because I would have avoided all of that confusion and people showing up that weren't supposed to be there. But if it's like something simple, like, your mom wants to put these certain little table decorations or a picture frame or little knickknacks here and there, and you're like, I don't really care about that. It makes her happy to do that. Well, then, let certain things slide, even if you don't want them, that it's not really going to affect you, and let other things that are really important, do what you want and your fiance want. Don't let what other people want influence you and therefore cause resentment in the future. Number 3, don't blow all your money on an expensive dress. Get a dress within your budget. And let's say there's a $50,000 couture dress that you absolutely know is your dress, but there's no way you can afford a $50,000 couture dress. Well, you have other options. I used a dress designer. I used a person who is a seamstress who designs wedding dresses, who makes clothes. I hired her to make my dream dress. I showed her what I liked, and then she made something that was specific to my body type and fit me better than anything on the rack could ever have fit me. So to find those kind of people, there's probably seamstresses and dressmakers that work for bridal shops that you could hire to make your dress. That's one way to find them. Excuse me. I'm a little sick today. But anyway, let me show you what that looks like. Okay, so that was my dream dress right there. Too expensive for me. Definitely could not afford it. And let me see if I can find. Oh no. Well, while I'm looking for my dress, let me just find a picture really quick. Think of other options. Let's say you can't afford, the absolute, your dream altar. Like you have this dream of 10,000 roses behind you. Why don't you talk to your floral designer and your floral vendor and say, well, what is possible? Like, I have this amount of money. What is possible? You never know what they might be able to do with flowers that are in season. Using flowers that are in season, so much better and so much cheaper than using anything out of season. Okay, here, I found it. That's the dress that she ended up designing for me. So it's the same kind of style, but it was customized for my body, and she used designs that were attributed to my Native American heritage. So it's like guarding fence and the sun, which prosperous, which is like prosperous tomorrow. So it was like a love letter on embroidered onto the wedding dress instead of something generic. So she customized it for me. And it wasn't crazy expensive. Not everything that's custom has to be crazy expensive. Okay, number 4. Don't jam everything into a short amount of time. You have the entire day. Start early. Getting your hair and makeup done with plenty of time before the ceremony is really important, because there's nothing worse than getting to a wedding location and the bride is getting her hair and makeup done really quickly and it's rushed and everyone's nervous, and if there's a mistake, then gosh, is there even time to fix that mistake? If you start your hair and makeup very early in the day, let's say like 8 or 9 a.m., And if there's a cushion between the end of hair and makeup and the ceremony, let's say there's 2 or 3 hours, there's so many opportunities to get great photo and video during that time that you look your best. There could even be time for a sneak peek. Your dad or your parents seeing you for the first time all dressed gorgeously. So pad your schedule, your day of wedding schedule with plenty of time, especially post ceremony pictures. You should you should allocate at least an hour and a half post wedding ceremony for pictures and video, because you're paying your photographer and your videographer for their skill and their talent. And if you give them very little time, then you're not utilizing them to the best of their capabilities. That is the time for them to be the most creative and the most cinematic and the most beautiful that they can possibly be, is right after the ceremony. Get the best shots. So make sure to give them at least an hour and a half before you have to be introduced into the wedding reception. Number 5. This might piss some people off, but I have seen a lot of crazy things happen when there's an open bar at a wedding. I haven't seen that many crazy things happen. Actually, I can't remember any crazy things happen when there's just wine and beer bar. Wine and beer doesn't nearly produce the amount of craziness as a full open bar does. This isn't their party, this is your party, and the last thing you want is your cousin acting like a fool and ruining part of your day. Just don't do it. Wine and beer is fine, and have some other non-alcoholic options and some coffee so people can enjoy their time. Not everyone wants to get wasted. And do you want to have a wasted wedding reception? Because that's what happens in an open bar. But if you have coffee, if you have beer and you have wine, it's a little bit more classy and a little bit more elegant, and the chances of having your butt pinched by a wedding guest are a lot less when there's just beer and wine at the wedding reception. Those are my top 5 wedding don'ts to save your wedding day, to save the time leading up to your wedding day from making some terrible mistakes. So if you like this video, if you like the things that I said, please share it and like it, and please like my Stella House Films page. I really would appreciate it, and I will see you tomorrow.